So let's debunk the top 3 myths in the field of hot stamping. The myth number 1, there is no springback in hot stamping. If you define springback as the release of elastic energy after removal of the loads, then I may agree with this statement. Because in hot stamping, the forming takes place at elevated temperatures. And at these elevated temperatures, the yield stresses are very low, and therefore the elastic energies are very low. This means low mechanical springback. However, the people using this statement, they do not mean that. They mean that there is no dimensional tolerance issues in hot stamping. And actually, in hot stamping, after you form the tool and after your quenching, which may take 5 to 8 seconds, you open up your tools. And then the temperature distribution on this part can vary between 200 to 80 degrees. So it is not homogeneous, it is not constant. And this temperature gradient leads to thermal distortions of your part. This depends on the size of the part, this depends on the thickness of your part. So at the end, there is dimensional tolerance issues in hot stamping, depending on the size and the thickness of your part, and you may need to compensate your hot stamping tools. Myth number 2 says the minimum cooling rate in hot stamping is 27 to 30 centigrade degrees per second. And if these people want to sound a little bit more academic, they would say 27 Kelvin per second, which doesn't change anything at all. This statement is wrong in so many levels, but it may be true under one special case. Which case it is? We take one specific alloy, which is 200 MnB5, we go to a laboratory, we heat up this part, and then cool it down by using constant cooling rates without no plastic strain at all. Then you would really measure a critical cooling rate of 27 degrees per second. However, if we think about our real process, our real parts, do we have constant cooling rates in the process? No. Do we have plastic strain? Definitely yes. We are metal formers. We want to form the metal. We want to initiate plastic strain on the part. So the critical cooling rate in hot stamping is almost never 27 or 30 degrees per second for the 22 MnB5. And in fact, when you check our simulations, you will see that the critical cooling rate may vary between 30 to 50 degrees per second, depending on the cooling rate history and strain history. The myth number 3 says that the friction coefficient in hot stamping is 0.45 or 0.55, whatever the number it is, a constant number. And that's a tricky one, because friction cannot be measured during a process. You can measure temperature distribution, you can measure your tool forces, but not the friction. But luckily, we have universities, laboratories around the world which are specialized in friction testing at elevated temperatures. And since many years, after so many master theses, PhD theses, papers and publications, we know as a fact that friction is not constant, but it depends on temperature, contact pressure, and plastic strain. So using a single number, whatever the number it is, as a friction coefficient is oversimplifying the whole complex tribological system in hot stamping. Friction is not constant. So now that we talked about these 3 myths, I want to end up with some good news. The process engineers do not need to deal with these details actually, because we do our homework and all these details are included in our models. If you are interested in dimensional accuracy issues in your hot stamping process, this is always simulated as a standard. So after you quench and open your tools, the parts are cooled down slowly and the whole time the thermal distortion is calculated. And if you are interested in compensation, you can use this distorted geometry to compensate your tools. Or if you are interested in increasing the accuracy of your simulations regarding the material flow and friction with our triboform solution, you can already simulate the 3D friction coefficient calculated by triboform, which is temperature, pressure, and strain dependent. Or if you are interested in the final product properties regarding the hardness distribution, then again in our models, the effects, the dependency on plastic strain, and the cooling rate history is included. So these were the top 3 myths on my list. And I would really appreciate if you can share with us the myths that have bothered you the most, so that we can extend this list together. Thank you for watching.